Hello and welcome to The Film Whisperers here on Ben TV, where two movie nerds talk all things film with a contemporary lens. My name is Saj.
And my name is Matt.
So, Matt, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going okay. It's obviously we're in the middle of winter, so it's very cold and dreary, but it's also a good opportunity to just binge movies, I feel like. You don't really want to go out when it's raining and cold, but to stay in and watch like a good movie, it's like a great opportunity to do. How are you feeling?
Yeah, no, good. I think I've been more outgoing in terms of seeing films at the cinema, to be honest. And how amazing is 2022? Yeah, I mean, you know, COVID's over, but then, you know, we have all these things happening in the world that's just shocking and horrible, and I don't know how I feel about it all.
That's true. Although it is, yeah, it's a good point that like this is kind of the first year in a few years where we've actually been able to like go to the cinema and watch movies like you would normally be able to, because obviously the last couple of years we've experienced lockdowns and things like that. So it's kind of nice to be able to, you know, have that experience again and, you know, go quite regularly, which, yeah, I'm sure you would enjoy as well.
100%. So what do you reckon we should talk about in terms of movies today?
Well, it's kind of like we're just past the midway point of 2022, so maybe it'd be a good time to take stock and actually look at like the movies we've seen so far this year. You know, point out some of the really good ones that people should check out, but also highlight some of the duds and also the weird ones, as we always do. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's been an interesting year for cinema. And I know we were talking about this earlier. There have been some good movies, certainly very different to the ones that we've seen over the last 2 years. And yeah, I think it will be good to sort of unpack that.
Yeah, no, I agree. So if we want to kick off with our favorite picks of 2022 so far, noting that festival season, all that kind of stuff hasn't kicked into swing yet. What's one of your favorites of the year so far?
I cannot believe I'm actually going to pick a film that has a straight white male lead. And I think that's the problem. I feel as if there hasn't been much diversity in film this year. However, having said that, at least the films that we are getting, they are good quality.
Yeah.
So my favorite film for this year has got to be The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
That was a good one. I did see that.
Yeah, you watched it?
Yeah.
Okay. So hear me out. I remember, look, Nicolas Cage, firstly, I feel as if he's got this interesting career. He's got a quirky personality. And when I saw this film, I just thought they could not have cast a better person to play themselves in a film that is so branded by them. So I thought every single moment of it was so ridiculous. It was fantastic. And you know, what an amazing idea. What an amazing idea as well. It was really funny. I thought the addition of Tiffany Haddish in it was really good. Pedro Pascal, I think that's the actor's name. You know, and Nicolas Cage, really good chemistry. I don't know. Look, it was so ridiculous. It was so great. And I think, you know, if there's one film I would recommend people to watch this year, because it's just so outrageous, it would be this.
I would just love to know like what it was like when they were pitching this movie to like a studio or something to fund, because on paper it just sounds so strange. Like the basic plot is like what this rich entrepreneur guy like pays for Nicolas Cage to come off to some island because he loves him. He's like a big fan or whatever. Yeah. And I just would love to have seen them in the room being like, yeah, we want to pitch this movie where Nick Cage actually plays himself.
Yeah.
Because it is wild, but it works, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and I think the only other celebrity who I feel could have gotten away with something similar would be someone like Bill Murray, you know, where he's really quirky and he's got that brand attached to him where everyone knows that he's a bit strange. I mean, he did the Very Murray Christmas. Other than that, this is not something that will work for many actors. But yeah, look, it's definitely one that I'll recommend to people. Okay, now enough of Nick Cage.
No, wait, just before you finish on Nick, I also am like, I feel like I've seen some of his movies, obviously, and I know there's like this lore around him because he's got some quite out there movies. It's funny because I feel like even though there's so many references in the movie to like his like filmography and what he's done, but even if you aren't that familiar with his other films, you can still really enjoy it because the writing is so clever. It's just really funny. Like I thought it was very, very funny.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, I was a 90s kid, so a lot of the films that they talk about in the film I remember watching like, you know, your Con Airs, which is you watch it now and you just go, this is so ridiculous. But you know, he was this, you know, this figure of the 90s that the typical sort of male savior who there was always a love story in his movies, and then I guess he just ran with that brand. He just kept getting ridiculous with some of the films that he did. So yeah, look, I think that's got to be one of my favorite films. Just check it out on whatever platform that it comes on. All right, okay, over to you, Matt. What would be your 2022 film?
Yeah, I've seen a few that I've really, really liked so far, but I think I can't go past. So there's a director called T. West, and he had previously brought out some movies that I really loved, like back in like the early 2010s. He's a horror director, but he kind of took a bit of a break where I think he focused on like TV and whatever, and so he came back to film again this year and did this movie called X, which is a horror movie, but I just thought it was great. Like, it was really, really good. And I think even though I really enjoy this kind of spate over the last like 5 years of this kind of elevated horror where there's like social commentary or there's like these deeper meanings and stuff, I still really enjoy the kind of like, in some ways, cliched like slasher movies as well. And so what I liked about X is that it was kind of funny in times too, but it was really like a love letter to some of those like old style slasher movies where they might still have some little messages in there, but really it's about just like a group of young people going to some secluded location and kind of getting terrorized by something evil, right? In this case, it's a group that is shooting an adult film in like a barn house somewhere. They've rented it out like an Airbnb style situation. And the owners of that place, an elderly couple, one of them in particular, well, actually no, both of them really, end up terrorizing the group. But yeah, you've seen it.
Yeah, I have, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, like what you said, it had a very Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe, as in the original 70s film. You know, the group of them traveling in the camper van, and and I thought the actress who played the lead character, but also the older lady who owned the I guess the complex where they make the film. I think her name's Mia Goth.
Yeah.
I thought she was really, really good. It was also great to see Brittany Snow in a film as well.
She's pretty funny in it.
She was, she was. But you know, I'm gonna have to agree. It was a very it was a really good horror movie.
Yeah, I'm like, give me like a Jordan Peele or Ari Aster movie any day. Like, I really enjoy like the kind of new wave like of these kind of elevated, more socially conscious horror movies where they have all these messages. But I did also really enjoy, and I saw it in the cinema, and it was really fun to watch with the crowd because, you know, people were laughing, cheering, really getting into it, and I was just like, oh, this is what I imagine it would have been like to see like a slasher movie in the 70s or the 80s where people just go for a fun time. Like, yeah, it was really, really good. And what's great as well is that I guess they must have had the budget at the time, but the director actually back-to-back filmed X as well as a prequel to X, which is called Pearl, and focuses on the older woman in the film when she was younger. And so there's already going to be, I guess, a second movie that'll come out at some point, which I hope has a similar vibe.
So I'm just going to quickly ask you this, and I've had discussions with people about this, but you know, there is this affiliation that horror has with the gay community. Do you think horror movies in general, would you consider it camp?
I think X is camp. I do. I don't think all horror movies are, but I think that part of the reason why gay or queer people tend to like gravitate towards horror is because it's just so over the top. A lot of it, not necessarily some of these more socially conscious ones, but like, it's just, and also because traditionally, they're focused on a female protagonist as well. So, you know, seeing some like big butch like straight guy, like it's hard to relate to that. But in a lot of horror movies, there's usually like the cliche of the final girl and stuff like that. So I think, and it's the same case with X. Like, even though there's a mixed genders in the show, like, you mean really like you said, Mia Goth steals the show. Yeah, she's great in it.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend X. Even if you're not a massive horror fan, it's just a fun ride.
Well, I completely agree.
But yeah, that's all we have time for now. Thank you so much for tuning into the Film Whisperers. You've been watching Bent TV.